So if you've been watching this for a while, you probably know that I'm into healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, and a part of that for me is dietary supplements and taking these amazing adaptogenic herbs on a daily basis. So what does that look like for me, who has spent quite a lot of time digging into this stuff and working on this kind of self-optimization or biohacking, as some might call it? Well, first let's start out with my supplements. So with my breakfast is when I take the vast majority of my supplements. So I first start out with 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, and I'm taking that because I have the MTHFR gene, which means I don't process folate down into its byproducts, such as 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate and folinic acid, very well. So I end up with a backlog of that and not enough of the downstream stuff, like 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate. So I supplement with it to help me out there, and it really gives me a good energy boost. Now that's something that for the average person may not be so essential unless you have this gene. So this is part of why it's so important to understand your unique biology, and a great reason to get genetic testing done, to be able to understand yourself on a deeper level like this. Then for another gene, actually, my COMT gene, and also just because I'm a human in the modern world eating the modern diet, I supplement with magnesium. I try to get a lot of magnesium sources dietarily as well, but it's something that, I had been tested on during times when I was eating really well, but I hadn't started supplementing with it, and I was indeed not in the optimal range. So magnesium is something I take in a supplement. I take it in the morning in the magnesium glycinate form, and then I take another form later in the day, which we'll get to in a minute. But I take a good solid dose of magnesium, and not just because almost everybody is deficient in it, and I was deficient in it, but because for me, I have another gene that we've made an in-depth video about called the COMT gene. And because of this gene, I actually can get very stressed. And if I get stressed, it can have a real negative impact long-term on my mental health. And so magnesium is the chill mineral. It really helps to relax the body, helps prevent tension from building up. Also helps with the brain, helps with energy production. It's good for so much stuff. And so, yes, you can get lots of magnesium in cacao. You can get it in lots of other dietary sources, pumpkin seeds. Lentils are a decent source. There's many sources, but it's a really good thing to also be looking at in supplement form. Then, fish oil is kind of like borderline between a food and a supplement, I think, because I almost don't think of it as a supplement as much because I'm not taking it in a capsule. I'm taking it just as a liquid. So that's next. So then I take ubiquinol. This is kind of like a more advanced form of CoQ10. Great for the mitochondria and great for heart health, but I particularly take it for mitochondrial optimization, to have as much cellular energy as possible. When you optimize your cellular energy, basically everything in your body can start working better and more efficiently and do whatever it's designed to do better because it's got more fuel to use. Let me take a quick look at my list here. I take berberine. Blood sugar balance is something I'm always working on optimizing. I don't have per se blood sugar issues. I've been doing low sugar, low carb for long enough that I have a pretty healthy blood sugar. But I really want to make sure that it stays there. And if you can keep your blood sugar low ongoing over the course of your life, this is really going to inhibit glycation, which is one of the main metabolic processes that causes aging. So I am trying to keep my blood sugar in a really optimal range on the low side as an anti-aging thing. And then I'm also normally taking just Thrive probiotics. At the moment, I'm experimenting with these new pendulum probiotics that have the Akkermansia strain in them, which has some research behind it indicating it may really help with hemoglobin A1C levels. Now, you've probably heard of testing your fasting blood glucose, and that's one way to get a quick snapshot of what your blood sugar is like, ideally, when you're fasting. Or perhaps you take it a while after a meal to see how your blood sugar goes up and then declines after a meal, because a key element of blood sugar balance is, okay, it's gonna go up to a certain degree after a meal, ideally not too much, but then how fast can you get it to drop back down? And that's really key. So there's some research indicating that this strain may be helpful. The research is done on people who already, I believe, are diabetic. I'm obviously not in that group, but I'm curious to see what this does over a period of 3 or 4 months to my hemoglobin A1C levels. Then I get my liposomal stuff, so that would be the vitamin C and D3 and K2 and methyl B12, methylcobalamin, and I take all those from Quicksilver Scientific. And so that, trying to think if I missed anything, but oh yeah, also I take organ meat capsules, so liver and various other organs, some for male health as well, and I take those in capsules with my breakfast every morning. And then when I take adaptogens really depends on what's going on in my life that day. Very often I'll make a combination of reishi and ashwagandha with some hot water and have that as an anti-stress drink, maybe late morning, early afternoon. I very often also make that in the evenings as kind of a sleep tonic. And with that in the evenings, I'll also take magnesium L-threonate. This is a form of magnesium that is able to cross the blood-brain barrier and thus is very calming for the brain and for the nervous system. So really one of the greatest supplements in my experience for helping to support really healthy sleep. If I'm being physically active or if I just need a little bit of an energy boost, very commonly I will take astragalus or cordyceps, and most of the herbs that I take will either be in chocolate or maybe I'm making one of our elixir blends commonly in the afternoon for a little treat, or I'm just doing it just in water. That's kind of one of my favorite ways to do it because it's so easy and quick to prepare. You just boil a bit of water, combine it with the herb powders, stir it up, and I personally, this is not for everybody, but for me personally, I enjoy immersing myself in the intensity of the flavors of the herbs. It's part of the experience for me. I love having them blended with other things as well. That's definitely something I enjoy too, but I really love the intense experience as well, and just the purity of it. There's something magical in there for me. And so if I'm doing something then very mentally active, if there's a lot of work happening, or 3 days a week I have Hungarian lessons. You guys may know Ana Blanca, my partner, she's Hungarian, and I love learning Hungarian and practice with her, but it's a little bit hard to learn a language if you only have one person to practice it with, and if that person is not trained to teach languages. Because think about it, like if you were trying to explain the rules of English grammar to somebody, you wouldn't get very far. There's so many weird rules and exceptions to rules that you never even thought of. You just know it from first language fluency because you grew up speaking it. You just kind of figured it out like that. You don't have necessarily all the tools that you might like to be able to explain it to somebody else. So I started working with a Hungarian tutor who's living in Hungary, who's an incredible linguist. And so I have hour-and-a-half lessons 3 times a week for that. And so I love taking lion's mane and often ashwagandha as well to optimize my brain function during those sessions. And that will often be in the form of, say, one of our chai elixirs or one of our cacao elixirs, but sometimes also I'll just do it as those individual herbs just in a bit of hot water. Very often tremella makes its way into these herbal drinks as well as just kind of an extra little skin anti-aging kind of help. Pine pollen is another very flavor neutral thing that I'll add in just to different dishes. It's so easy just to take a teaspoon of it and kind of sprinkle it over whatever you're making. Same thing with blue butterfly. Like if, say, maybe one day I'm kind of not doing my usual breakfast, maybe I'm having like some porridge, or maybe I'm just making myself like an electrolyte drink to take into the sauna. I'll put some blue butterfly flower in there, and that blue color just always gets me more excited about whatever it is I'm consuming. So that, it's a way to have some fun with it. And so basically all the herbs that you see that we carry, I will work in at some point, not all in the same day, but I kind of have this in my arsenal and my body is familiar with these as I've been using them over time, and I kind of feel through what is the right thing for me on that day. Maybe I'm making an amazing acai ice cream, and you know what goes great with acai? Schizandra berry, and Schizandra sharpens the mind. When I really need to be on it brain-wise, Schizandra is a go-to, and I won't even necessarily mix that in anything. Sometimes you just take these herbs and you put it in your mouth. Be careful, don't inhale the powders, but you can take half teaspoon, get some saliva going and put it straight in your mouth and just let it dissolve like that. And that is a very potent way to do it, but not for the faint of heart. So everyone can find your own ways, and that's the most important thing, is figuring out the method that is gonna consistently work for you to do these herbs on a regular basis. So that's what works for me. Let me know in the comments, or if you're watching on Instagram, we'll put a little box here. What are your must-have herbs and supplements that you pretty much have every single day? There may be some that you take some days and not other days, but I'm curious to know what are the ones that are, I would say, let's say, what are the top 3 herbs that you have most frequently, and what are the top 3 supplements that you're consuming most frequently? Okay guys, thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, please do me a huge favor. Just go click the like and subscribe button down below the video. It really supports us more than you can imagine. It helps us to reach more people, helps us to grow our little family business, and just lets us know that you're out there enjoying what we're doing. Have a beautiful day, and look forward to seeing you guys all next time.